happy day to you. I don't even know what day this is going to come out. Hey, welcome back, YouTube, to the Commonplace. My name is Autumn. I'm over caffeinated, but we're gonna get on track here. Well, hey there, and welcome back to the Commonplace. My name is Autumn Kern, and I'm here because my alarm bells for school planning have started to go off in my head. And if they haven't gone off in yours yet, I think maybe they should. So we're gonna do a two-part video. The first, we're gonna talk about what I do during the summer, during this July, August, to get going for the school year, because it's more than just buying school books. And then in part two, I'm actually going to walk you through sort of like one of my Mother Academia videos where I finalize my timetable, my at-a-glance guide, things that I make, paper things that I make to keep me on track for the year. Because as I've said before, I am a type A planner, and then more of a type B executor. And what I mean by that is I plan really heavily in every area of life so that then I can be a little more relaxed and flexible and fun-loving and chill, I guess, as I would say it. It brings more conviviality and jollification into my home when we live out the plans because I'm not overly stressed about following them to a T. But I also know I've planned well, so things will get done. That is the way I plan. If that sounds like you, if that sounds like the way you'd like to learn to plan, hey, welcome here. I'm glad that you're here. And hopefully today we can inspire you with some ideas. We being the baby that's over here. I'm not using plurals just to refer to myself. There is an infant right over here. And I'm hoping, because infants love to watch their mothers talk, she will let me talk for about 15 minutes. Here we go. So when I think about summer planning, I actually use Charlotte Mason's framework of atmosphere, discipline, and life to get myself organized. I think I have taken that framework and extended it far beyond Mason would have ever thought someone would use it, but it's really helpful to me. And it's because it encompasses so much of life, and also it encompasses the tools that we have to educate our children. And all mothers educate, whether or not you are a homeschooling mother, you teach your children. And so Mason's three instruments, if you don't know them, are atmosphere, discipline, and life. And by discipline, she means habits, and by life, she means ideas. I'm gonna link a couple resources below that I have, podcasts, videos, things where I discuss these in further detail if you'd like to learn more about them. But this is what I use when I start thinking about planning for the year. Now, I ask a question in each of these, which is pretty simple and is also profound, and that is, who is my family? Like, who are the actual people in my home? What are their skills? What are their giftings? What are their struggles? What are the skills they are learning? Where do we always trip up? Where do we always succeed? What comes naturally to us? What's more difficult for us? I try to not envision my ideal of anything as I plan, because homeschooling mothers, especially those of us who are idealists, can go way off into my perfect world that I'm planning for. And then it comes crashing down later in the year because we realize we're actually in relationship with real people who are in various places in their own learning, their own relationship with God, their relationship with the knowledge before them, their habits, everything else. And then we're like, why didn't it work? Well, because you probably weren't planning for the family you actually have. So in each of these categories, I really try to think about the people I have, the rhythms we have established, both the good and the ones I'd like to change, and then the things we enjoy. Because as I keep talking about in Common House, delight is really important. Okay, so let's start with atmosphere. And that's the atmosphere of your home. It doesn't just mean the material things. It's more of the way you relate in life, so the way you relate to God, the way you relate to others, and the way you relate to things. So yes, things do come in, but we want to be careful that in our materialistic postmodern society, we don't hyperfixate on buying all the right things, because that will not make your atmosphere wonderful. It may help, like if you need a new cabinet because your school stuff is all over the floor and it's never organized and everyone's tripping, you can't find things, and like finding something might actually help the home atmosphere, but it's not the same thing as an Instagram square, perfect, beautiful flat lay, the room is perfectly designed, everything is brand new and fresh. That's not what I'm getting at. In fact, I have a video about that, I'll link it above. But instead, I like to think about every space in my house. So I personally, because I love to clean, organize, and declutter, I like to hit every space in my home. I do this once during the summer. I do this during every term break, but in less detail because I only have a week versus having, a month to maybe do it. And then at the end of the school year again. So I guess technically twice during the summer holiday. I like this because it means that I know I've touched the entire house. I've done the deep clean. I've passed things on that we don't need. I've reorganized things. I've just decluttered. I've trashed things that need to be trashed, like all the chewed pencils, things like that. And I know that if it starts to feel a little overwhelming during that first term, like, oh, I really need to get to that cabinet. Look, the papers are really starting to pile up. Then I know, hey, I've got a time for that. Or I know, hey, I actually did just do that, so it's probably gonna be okay for, another month or whatever. That helps me maintain the pace during the term without frantically worrying about the space around us. It also allows me during the summer to think through what went well last year and what could I change this year. So last year, maybe it worked really well for me to store my younger children's stuff in this cabinet on this shelf because they could reach it. But now I have a baby who could possibly be crawling around or pulling on things at some point this year. So I might want to move that up a couple shelves because those kids are taller, they can reach, and this one's going to be on the move. It's thinking through things like that. Hey, it didn't work last year, having these jars for pencils, colored pencils, and paintbrushes and that sort of stuff, rulers, whatever. The kids constantly made a mess with it. It really upset me. I didn't like that it looked like a complete chaotic clutter mess in there. And so I'm instead going to use pencil pouches so that we can zip them and we don't see them. I don't want to see those things this year. I want to put them in something where they're hidden. These are tiny things, but I really do think they make a huge difference. And so it's not just school stuff I do this with. Like I said, I go through every space in my house. So this week I went through our kitchen and downstairs bathroom. Kitchen is obviously a huge part of home life, and when you are home all day, cooking all of the meals at home all day, you want to make sure your kitchen runs well. After being pregnant, school year, summer, all of that, I looked at my kitchen cupboards and I thought I could really do some organizing in here. I could definitely get, I wanted a labeler, and then I thought I could use masking tape and a pen, and that's what I did instead. So it doesn't have to be fancy. It's just getting some jars, pouring things in, at least that's what I did, or just getting those stackers where you can put canned goods on top and then canned goods in below, and you make a double shelf on a single shelf, things like that. Going through and getting rid of chipped plates, making sure the cups are available to the younger kids so they're not asking you during lessons possibly, hey, can you get me a cup of water, because they're available to them. Making sure that I have the materials my kids need so that they can handle their own snacks and even lunch making this school year, because I want that. Also knowing that I don't have anything expired in the house. I've made sure that everything in the house is good to go. I don't have supplements or vitamins that are now, beyond their good date or their use date, things like that. I've gone through. I'm not going to think about it because I am the type of person to think about those little things when I don't have time to think about them, like during the school year. So I went through that area. Now I've moved into our living room, dining room. That includes a lot of our school stuff, our one closet downstairs. I'm working on that space now. I'm texting friends who have younger kids than me to say, hey, I've got this thing, would you like it? I'm dropping stuff off at the thrift store. I'm decluttering, I'm reorganizing, I'm making sure the space works. Now, one thing that I learned when I went to the CMEC fall retreat, 2 falls ago, is it's really nice to just pick one project that you'd like to get done during your break. This could be, I'm gonna put shelves in that closet so that we have way better storage. For me, last year, it was painting this huge floor to ceiling cabinet that we have that's a built-in in our kitchen. I wanted to paint it this really beautiful, moody dark green. And it was just something, it's just a project that it's not gonna get done during the school year. You don't wanna pull out paint cans when you have a bunch of kids around and you're trying to get through a school day every day. But it will bring you a lot of joy. It'll make the space serve you better during the year. That's another great question to ask. How can this space serve the rhythms and practices of the school year? Things like that. And just take one. Just take one space. Your laundry room, the closet, the cabinets that run along your dining room, whatever, and just take care of it. You know how much joy that brings you? Walking by and knowing that thing is done, that thing is pretty, that thing is organized, that thing is clean, that thing works for our family now. These things matter. They help a huge amount during the school year. I know you thought school prep was just, I gotta buy books, gotta get my curriculum, but no, you have to make sure your home is ready for the year. And that is where I always start. I don't know why, but actually working in my space, I think moving my body, moving through our home, touching everything that we own, really helps me streamline what we need, what we find beautiful, what serves us, and get rid of the things that we don't, or find a better way to use them, or even pack them up for storage if I'm gonna be moving them to a different kid later, because that happens too. So then we move into discipline or habits, and I do not first jump to the habits I would like for my children to have, as tempting as that can be, because yes, that would make my life easier if everyone just had perfect habits. I actually start with myself first. I think it's important to assess your physical, emotional, intellectual, and spiritual habits. Oftentimes for a mom, it's as basic as, are you eating well? Are you sleeping well? Are you exercising? And do you pray enough? Are you at church? That's pretty much it that I really think you need to review. But making sure your habits are in place is vital. One, because you're caring for yourself. You are an embodied soul. You have a body, you have a mind, you have this spiritual element, obviously, of your soul, but you need to be caring for yourself in all of those ways in order to pour out to anyone else. No one needs a fake martyr mom during the school year where you're exhausted, you can't focus, you're a little snippy, or you're burnt out. I mean, that's a reality that happens to a lot of moms, and when you probably don't have much alone time as a home educating mother, you need to learn that the rhythms and practices of your life can feed you in those ways without you needing to carve out perfect, contrived environments and times where you get to do something by yourself the exact way you want to, so on and so forth, which is kind of one of the modern lies that we have, at least in the West. And instead learn, how do I move in the world in a way that continues to nourish me, care for me, and allow me to rest? I actually have another video about that. I'll put that up there as well. And I do talk about this a good bit in Common House. If you don't know about Common House, it's where mother teachers can continue to go further up and further in with their educational philosophy. That's the little C.S. Lewis quip I like to use for it. We have actually, this is my third summer of doing my summer planning series in there, where I go really in depth with all the planning that I do. So all those videos are in there, as well as we just launched Merrymakers, which will be 3 calls to start out with. One is going to focus on summer planning, another one will be mother care, and then the third will actually be habits to help with the academic year. So really all related to this video as well, where we have just an open call. No one is in charge. I'm not teaching anything. It's just a way for women who have found like-minded camaraderie with those around the world, it's very international, can meet online and at least see each other face to face and hear each other's voices. It's like the most embodied way I think to do it online, and get ideas from each other, ask questions, get tips. So if you're interested in anything like that, we've got a lot of good stuff like that in Common House, and it's where I hang out the most. So I'd love to have you in there. Now, once I've reviewed the mom habits, I will then look to my kid habits. Now, this could be something like chores. I know moms who train chores during the summer that stick with kids for the entire year. So it's not like a rotating chore chart. It's just, hey, you're on bathrooms this year. So this summer, we're gonna practice really hard how we clean a bathroom really well. And then you're gonna captain it the entire school year so that you do it really well. By the end of the school year, you'll be great at this. And it's just, you know what you need to do each week. So it could be something like that, like how can I help my house run with my habits? How can my kids be tapped in, brought up, all of those good things. Or it could be, hey, we are having a lot of sibling conflict. We're having some really bad tone of voice in this house. Hey, I see really slow obedience out of my kids. It could be something like that. When you get into those habits, my best tip is to consider if you should train a pod habit or individual habits. And this will of course depend on your kids' ages, the number of children you have, who your children are, right? Go back to that question, who actually exists in my family? But I often like the pod trick for kids who are close in age together, like my older 3 are. They're about 3 years apart in total. And so I really like to train them on 1 to 2 things together if I can, rather than trying to work on like 6 habits with the 3 of them all at once. It's like playing whack-a-mole, and honestly it's just too much with also having a newborn at the same time. And so I prefer to do pod habits, and that way they are in a good way peer pressuring each other into remembering the habit, and we practice, we're all practicing together, and I'm using the same refrains and I'm using the same examples, and we're reminding each other the same things, and it's just a little bit easier on me when I'm trying to make sure I don't let the habit that we're working on slip, because that's a key part of Charlotte Mason habit training. And then of course lastly, the habits of the home. I like to look at my calendar. I like to sit down, and sometimes you don't know all these details at the start of the year, like right now when I'm planning, but know when you have ballet, when you have soccer, when you go to jiu-jitsu, when you have church, when you have small group, when you have co-op, these things that are kind of set the rhythms of your life, these habits that you have, and make sure that you understand the flow to your week. Yes, you may not be there yet because it's summer holiday, but it is coming. Once you have those bigger things in, you can then start to ask yourself, what habits need to be in our home? What's our morning time routine like? What's our bedtime routine like? Do I need a laundry routine where my older kids each have a day of the week where it's their laundry day and that's the day you get the machines? Otherwise, sorry bud, you're out of luck until next time. You'll learn the lesson that way. These sorts of home habits are key to family life. I do want to make sure they don't turn into systems. You don't want to be beating everyone over the head and saying things must be done only in this way. It's a living organism, a home, it's a living place. And you also want to be wary of not using home habits into a system where you treat your home like a business. I think that's just like, oh, so cold, machine-like. No, it's a family, it's a home. It should be a life-giving thing. And so I know I have to be careful not to, have my cleaning routine or whatever it is, those habits in place, and then be upset that the house got dirty again, because instead I'm working in this home. These habits exist in this home to serve us. We don't serve the home is a phrase that I really like. It serves us. And so we want life to be able to abound, which means we do need someone regularly unloading the dishwasher, scrubbing a toilet. We need people doing their laundry. We need people vacuuming or weeding the garden or whatever it is. And so think about those habits on the whole, tap your husband in, see how everyone can be involved, make it a loving thing, like you serve the family this way, that brings you joy. I know it's upside down, but when you serve others, it actually brings you joy rather than thinking about being served yourself. Help your family get on that track this year by thinking of your habits now. And of course, the last thing is life. That is going to be your curriculum. That is going to be the ideas that you will be bringing in during the school year. And so yes, you need to sit down with your curriculum now. You need to read through the philosophy if you need to. In fact, if you want to sharpen up on your philosophy, right now we're doing a slow read of Charlotte Mason's Home Education. It's an annotated read, so I take each section, I record an audio for it where I walk through, I read bits of Mason, I add kind of Victorian translations. I think sometimes we have to translate her so you can understand her in modern English. I also add other bits about Mason from other volumes to help tie it in, give a fuller picture. So that's the ongoing course right now in Common House, which is self-paced, so you could join at any time, and we'd love to have you for that as well. But it is the time to really work on your philosophical muscles. Refresh yourself. Be inspired again. Get ready for the school year. Feel all of those butterflies because you've been spending time in your philosophy, which is your duty as a mother teacher, and then go and plan. Look at your curriculum, look at the books you need, look at the term outline. 2 things I like to make every year. Obviously, one is my own timetable or my schedule for our lessons. I have 2 formal students, and so I do have to really plan out when I can help each one of them while also having 2 other kids around, one in Kinderleben and one in Babyleben, if you will. And so that timetable really does take some time. And there are a couple principles there that I'm gonna talk about in the next video about how I plan looking at delight and duty, because both are absolutely essential to the human soul. Looking at the family I actually have, some ways to plan when you're combining students or combining forms. Launching someone into independent work is another thing that I'm gonna be talking about. And then from there, I turn to my at a glance. My at a glance guide I've been making for a couple of years. I originally saw the kind of template going week by week over at Ambleside Online. I've never used the curriculum, but I loved the way it was laid out. It made a lot of sense to my brain. So I've used something similar to that every year. And so I'm working on, these are the books we're going to be reading, whether it's our benediction time, which is kind of like our morning time, if it's our humanities, because we don't use subjects. If you want to know more about that, I'll link another video for you. And as I go through, I go week by week. This is the work that needs to be done. And having it all laid out, like I said, for me, helps me not worry, because as long as I'm using this as my guide, we're gonna get everything done. And I'm not balancing a bunch of checklists for each year or anything like that. I have it all in one place. And I'm going to actually be wrapping that up. I have our first term done. I'm gonna be finishing our next 2, and that I'll actually bring you along with me while I do and talk through it in my next video next time. So it's time. I know it's July, but it is actually time to start planning for the school year. I think you will thank yourself. As my husband often asks our kids, what would future you appreciate from current you right now? And so thinking of future you, I think you will appreciate any work you put towards this kind of summer planning, looking at your atmosphere, your discipline, and your life so that a wonderful school year unfolds for your family. I'll see you guys next time. Well, hey, I hope you enjoyed that video and that it was a help to you as a home educator and a mother of little ones. I'd like to extend an invitation to you to come join us in Common House. It's the place where I say mother teachers get to go further up and further in through the classical wardrobe. Or another way, it's where we're learning how to make truth, beauty, and goodness something that our children and even ourselves get to experience through all 5 senses in an embodied way in our homes to inspire wonder and love for God and His world. We have over 800 mothers around the world, and we'd love to have you join us. Check it out.